Hey everyone, my name's Samantha. I'm 22, and this Christmas, my family basically abandoned me to babysit while they jetted off on vacation. So, I did something that ruined their holiday, and now they're acting like I'm the villain. ADA, let me start from the beginning. Every Christmas, my family gets together for a huge holiday celebration. It's supposed to be about family, love, and traditions, except for me. It usually just means babysitting duty while the adults enjoy themselves. I have three younger cousins, Emily, 10, Max, 7, and Lucas, 5, who I honestly do love. But every single year, I somehow get roped into watching them while everyone else drinks wine, laughs, and has a great time. It's frustrating, but I usually just deal with it because, well, Christmas is supposed to be about giving, right? This year, though? Oh, my family took it to another level a few weeks before Christmas. My aunt called me up. She was way too cheerful, which was already a red flag. Samantha, we have the most exciting news. We're going on a family Christmas vacation to Hawaii. White sand, palm trees, the whole thing. It's going to be magical. At first, I was happy for them, until I realized she said, we, like I was included. Oh, that sounds amazing. When do we leave? I asked, and that's when she hit me with it. Oh, well, you're not actually coming. See, someone needs to stay back and watch the kids. It just made the most sense for you to do it. I actually laughed out loud, thinking she was joking, but she wasn't. My entire family, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, were all going on a tropical Christmas vacation, and they wanted me to stay behind and babysit for a full week. And it gets worse. I stared at the phone, waiting for my aunt to burst out laughing and say, "Gotcha. Of course, we wouldn't do that to you." But the silence dragged on. Wait, you're serious? I finally asked. Of course, sweetie. It just makes the most sense. You don't have kids of your own, you're great with them, and you're not really doing anything for Christmas anyway. That last part? That's what sent me over the edge. Not doing anything for Christmas? Oh, I guess the plans I had to visit my best friend's holiday party, drink hot cocoa by the fire, and just enjoy my break like a normal person didn't count. Apparently, my life just existed for their convenience. I took a deep breath. You want me to stay back alone, in the middle of winter, to watch three kids, while everyone else is sipping cocktails on a beach? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. Yeah, because it was T this point, I was livid. But my aunt kept going, look, we already booked everything. Flights, hotels, activities. It's all non-refundable, and we can't bring the kids because it'd be too expensive. You'd really be saving Christmas for everyone. Oh, saving Christmas? How generous of them that I told her I'd think about it. Mostly so I wouldn't say something I'd regret. But deep down, I already knew my answer. No, absolutely not. Still, I wanted to see how the rest of my family felt about it. Maybe someone would step up and say, hey, this isn't fair. Spoiler alert, they didn't. That night, I called my mom. Surely, she'd be on my side, right? Oh, honey, it's just one little favor. It's Christmas. You're really going to make a big deal out of this? A big deal? They were literally ditching me for an entire week while they lived it up in Hawaii. I explained how unfair it was, how I had my own life, how I was tired of always being the free babysitter. But my mom wasn't having it. Well, someone has to do it. Your cousins can't stay home alone. And between you and me, it's not like you had anywhere important to be. There it was again. That assumption that my time meant nothing. I told her straight up, Mom, I'm not doing it. Silence. Then a sigh. Samantha, don't be selfish. It's Christmas. Selfish? Me? For not giving up my entire holiday so everyone else could party in paradise. I snapped. If it's so important, why don't you stay home and watch them? Her response? Because I already paid for my ticket. Right. Because that's what really mattered. I hung up, feeling a mix of anger and disappointment. No one cared. No one even considered how unfair this was. So I decided if they weren't going to respect my time, I was going to teach them a lesson. And let's just say, they did not have the Christmas they were expecting. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. If they wanted to ditch me for Christmas, fine. But I wasn't going to sit around and play the obedient babysitter while they sipped cocktails by the ocean. So I made a plan. The first thing I did was call my cousin Lisa. She was in college, a couple of years older than me, and the only family member who had ever really understood how messed up our family could be. "Let me get this straight," she said after I explained everything. "They're expecting you to stay home, alone, for an entire week during Christmas so they can go on vacation?" "Yep." "Wow." She let out a low whistle. "And I thought they were bad when they made me pay for my own prom dress." I sighed. "I just don't get it. Why do they always treat me like my time doesn't matter?" "Because you let them," she said bluntly. "Every time they ask you to babysit, you say yes, even when you don't want to, even when it screws you over." I wanted to argue, but she wasn't wrong. "So what are you gonna do?" she asked that I hesitated. I was thinking, what if I agreed? But then at the last minute, I didn't show up? Lisa let out a wicked laugh. "Oh my God, yes. Do it. But wouldn't that make me a jerk?" "Sam, they're literally using you for free labor. They didn't even ask. They just expect it. You owe them nothing." She was right. And hearing it from someone else made me feel so much better about what I was about to do. So, the next morning, I called my aunt back. "Hey, I thought about it," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "I'll do it." She gasped. "Oh, sweetie, thank you. You're saving our Christmas." I forced out a laugh. "Yeah, no problem." She rattled off all the instructions. What time they were leaving, the emergency numbers, the bedtime routine. I pretended to listen, all while smirking to myself. Because I had zero intention of showing up, I was about to give my family the best Christmas present ever. A reality checked. The day of their flight, I turned off my phone, I went out to brunch with Lisa, drank an overpriced peppermint mocha, and watched a Christmas movie marathon in my pajamas. And my family? They were scrambling at the airport, realizing I was never coming. It took less than 2 hours for the messages to start pouring in. Mom texted, "Where are you?" "The kids are waiting." Aunt texted, "Sam, this isn't funny. We're boarding soon. Get here now." Mom texted again, "Answer your phone." I ignored every single one, then the call started. At least a dozen, all from different family members. I turned my phone on silent and kept watching my movie. About an hour later, Lisa nudged me. "Check your messages. I bet they're losing their minds." I opened my texts. Sure enough, my aunt had sent a furious message. "I can't believe you would do this to us. The kids have no one to watch them. We had to cancel everything." Then my mom, "You just ruined Christmas for everyone. Hope you're happy." I stared at the messages. And you know what? I was happy. Because for the first time in forever, they actually had to deal with the consequences of treating me like their personal babysitter. I smiled, tossed my phone aside, and took another sip of my hot cocoa. Merry Christmas to me. I knew that ignoring their calls would cause a storm, but I didn't expect just how quickly things would escalate. By the time I finished my third Christmas movie, I had at least 20 more texts from my mom, aunt, and even some cousins. At first, it was the usual guilt tripping. Mom texted, "I raised you better than this." Aunt texted, "You are so selfish, Sam." Cousin Jake texted, "Wow, couldn't suck it up for 1 week? Unbelievable." But then, things started getting a little desperate. Mom texted, "We're trying to figure something out, but the airport won't let us change our flights last minute." Aunt texted, "We are literally about to miss our trip because of you." And then, my dad finally joined the conversation, which was weird. Why Dad never texted me unless it was something serious. He mostly let my mom handle family drama while he stayed out of it. But now, he was in the group chat, and he was mad. Dad texted, "Sam, call me. Now." I hesitated. Was I really ready for this? I took a deep breath and finally answered his call. "Sam," he said, his voice clipped. "What the hell is going on?" I rolled my eyes. "I think you already know. Your mother is crying." I stayed silent. "That wasn't my fault. You promised to babysit, and now we're scrambling," he continued. "We can't just leave two little kids alone." "That's funny," I said flatly, "because you had no problem leaving me alone on Christmas." A pause. "That's different," he said finally. "You're old enough to take care of yourself, and they're old enough to be your responsibility, not mine." I shot back. "I never agreed to this. You guys just decided for me, like always." I expected him to argue. to push back, but instead, he sighed. Sam, your mom is really upset. Can you at least come over for a few hours until we figure something out? I almost laughed. So now that their plans were ruined, they suddenly wanted to negotiate? No, Dad. I have plans. Plans? He sounded incredulous. What plans? I smirked. Relaxing. Watching movies. Drinking cocoa. Enjoying Christmas, since you guys didn't think I deserved one. Silence, then. He sighed again, long and heavy. All right, fine. But don't expect anyone to be happy about this. That was fine by me. I hung up, exhaled, and turned back to Lisa. She was watching me with wide eyes. Dude, that was brutal. I shrugged. I'm just done letting them treat me like a free babysitter. Lisa grinned. Well, congrats. I think they finally got the message. Or so I thought, because the real fallout didn't happen until they got back. The day my family returned from their failed vacation, my mom stormed into the house like a hurricane. I barely had time to put my phone down before she launched into it. Sam, I am so disappointed in you, she fumed. Do you have any idea what you put us through? I blinked. You mean what you put yourselves through? She let out a bitter laugh. We had to pay a ridiculous cancellation fee. Do you know how much money we lost? Maybe you should have thought about that before making plans that depended entirely on me. Her nostrils flared. That is not the point. You could have just helped out for 1 week, and instead, you chose to be petty and ruin Christmas for everyone. I crossed my arms. You ruined it for yourselves. I never agreed to babysit. You all just assumed I would because I've never said no before. She opened her mouth, then shut it, like she was actually considering what I said. But then she doubled down. You still could have stepped up. Family helps family, Sam. I exhaled sharply. You mean like how my uncle helps himself to free childcare? How you guys help yourselves to my time whenever it's convenient for you? Sam, no. I'm done, Mom, I said, my voice firm. If you keep treating me like a built-in babysitter, don't expect me to be around. Ever. That finally shut her up. She turned on her heel and stomped away, furious. But you know what? For the first time in forever, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. Oh, you thought that was the end? Nope. The real drama started after that. A few days later, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw a post from my aunt. It was one of those long, passive-aggressive rants about how family isn't what it used to be and how certain people don't know the meaning of responsibility anymore. And, of course, the comments were full of relatives chiming in, Uncle Tom, some people need to grow up. The world doesn't revolve around them. Grandma, I would have never treated my family this way. So selfish. Cousin Rachel, wow, some people really don't appreciate what they have. I knew they were talking about me, but then I saw something that actually made my blood boil. Mom said, we tried to raise her right, but she's changed so much. We're heartbroken. Excuse me? I immediately texted her. Are you seriously bad-mouthing me on Facebook? She responded almost instantly. I didn't name anyone. Oh, so that's how we're playing it. I wasn't going to argue over text. Instead, I took a screenshot and sent it to our family group chat with one simple message. If you have something to say it to my face. And guess what? Dead silence. 4 hours. But then, I got a private message from my grandma. Sam, I'm very disappointed in you. Your mother has done everything for you. And this is how you repay her. I exhaled slowly, trying to keep my cool. I replied, Grandma, did Mom tell you they tried to leave me alone with 2 kids for a whole week without even asking me first? Her typing bubble popped up, then disappeared, then popped up again. Finally, Grandma texted, that's not the point. Family sacrifices for each other. I almost laughed. Of course, when it came to me, family meant sacrificing. But when it came to them, it meant dumping responsibilities on someone else. So I responded one last time. If family matters so much, why didn't Mom and Aunt Sarah sacrifice their vacation instead of expecting me to sacrifice my entire Christmas? Guess what? She left me on read. But here's where it gets even worse. Because 2 days later, I got a call from my dad. Sam, he said, his voice low. You need to apologize to your mother. I almost dropped my phone. Apologize? For what? For humiliating her like that, he said. You know she's been crying for days, right? I scoffed. That's not my fault. Maybe she should have thought about that before badmouthing me to the whole family. Dad sighed. Look, I get that you're upset, but this has gone too far. She feels like she's lost you. She didn't lose me. She pushed me away. I shot back. And if she wants to fix that, maybe she should act like a mother instead of a manipulator. Silence, then, he muttered. I just don't know what's happened to you. And that was when I snapped. What happened to me? I repeated. I finally learned how to stand up for myself. And if you and Mom can't handle that, then maybe it's you who needs to change, not me. And then, for the first time ever, I hung up on my dad. So yeah, now my family hates me, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting written out of my grandma's will. But honestly, I don't even care anymore. Well, I thought that would be the end of it. I figured they'd all just ignore me for a few weeks, maybe throw some passive-aggressive shade in the family group chat, and then move on like they always did. But oh no, my mom wasn't about to let this go. Because a few days later, I got a text from my cousin Rachel. Rachel, hey, just a heads up, your mom and Aunt Sarah have been telling everyone that you abandoned your little cousins on Christmas. Abandoned. Like I was supposed to be their full-time parent or something. I texted back. What are they even saying? Rachel sent me a screenshot of a message my mom had sent to the family chat. I hate to even talk about this, but I'm so heartbroken. Sam refused to watch the kids when we were counting on her. We had to cancel our whole trip. It ruined our holiday. The kids were devastated. Are you kidding me? And of course, half the family was eating it up. Aunt Linda texted, That's just shameful. Kids these days have no sense of duty. Uncle Ray texted, Unbelievable. She couldn't help for 1 week? Grandpa texted, Sounds like she needs a lesson in respect. I was fuming. And then, I saw a message from my dad. Dad texted, We just don't know what's happened to her. Again with the what happened to me nonsense. At this point, I wasn't just mad. I was done, so I took a deep breath and did something that I knew would send everyone into a meltdown. I replied to the group chat. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to clear something up. Mom and Aunt Sarah never actually asked me to babysit. They just told me I was doing it, last minute, without even considering my plans. I didn't agree to anything, and I definitely didn't abandon anyone. I sent another message before anyone could respond. Also, if Christmas was ruined, why didn't one of the actual parents, aka my mom or aunt, stay home instead of expecting me, a 19-year-old, to give up my entire holiday? And then, just for good measure, I added, Love you all. Happy New Year. Red heart, and then I muted the chat. I'm not even joking when I say chaos erupted. My phone started blowing up. Why mom called me 4 times in a row. I ignored her. Rachel sent me a message. LMAO. The group chat is on fire. Grandpa is yelling at Aunt Sarah. Uncle Tom is saying your mom is lying, and Grandma just left the chat. I actually started laughing. For once, my family's drama wasn't my problem. A few days passed. My parents went radio silent. I guess they were trying to guilt me by ignoring me. And honestly, I enjoyed the peace. But then, one night, I got a text from my dad. We need to talk. I sighed and called him. The second he picked up, he said, Your mother is crying herself to sleep every night. I rolled my eyes. Oh, really? Then maybe she should apologize instead of playing the victim. She's just hurt, he sighed. You embarrassed her in front of everyone. She embarrassed herself, I corrected. Maybe she should have told the truth instead of making me out to be some selfish villain. Dad was quiet for a long time. Then, he said something I never expected. You know, I actually agree with you. I froze. Wait, what? Dad sighed. Look, I love your mom, but she handled this badly. She should have talked to you first instead of dumping this on you. And I told her that. I blinked. And how did that go? Well, he said, I'm sleeping on the couch. I burst out laughing. It was the first time in forever that Dad had actually taken my side instead of blindly defending Mom. So, what now? I asked. Dad sighed. Now? We let your mother calm down. And maybe, when she's ready, she'll actually listen to you. That was probably the closest thing to an apology I was ever going to get, so, For now, I'd take it. So yeah, my family tried to make me their free Christmas babysitter, and when I refused, they turned me into the villain. But I stood my ground, and honestly, it feels amazing. The aftermath of everything was interesting. After my dad's unexpected moment of honesty, I expected my mom to cool off eventually. Maybe she'd realize that she was being ridiculous and at least try to patch things up. But nope. She doubled down. A few days later, I got a text from my older cousin, Jake. Yo, Aunt Linda is saying you ruined Christmas on purpose because you're selfish and spoiled. I replied laughing, are they still on this? Jake texted, bro, they're making it their whole personality. And then he sent me a screenshot. Apparently, my mom and Aunt Sarah had been venting to everyone about how I was turning into a lost cause and didn't care about family anymore. Like I was the villain in some Hallmark movie. I ignored it. Let them talk. But then, my mom tried to get grandma involved. I was at work when my phone buzzed. It was a message from my grandma. Now, let me just say, grandma does not do drama. She's old school. She sees right through everyone's nonsense. Her text? Brutal, grandma. I heard what happened. Your mother is being ridiculous. Stand your ground. I actually laughed out loud. I replied, love you, grandma. She texted back, I know. Don't let the fools get to you. Grandma is the best. But here's where things really escalated. Aunt Sarah's husband, Uncle Tom, finally got involved. And he was not happy. One night, I got a message from Rachel again. Rachel, my dad just went off on my mom. He said it's insane that she tried to dump her kids on you and then acted like the victim. I replied, wait, Uncle Tom actually called her out? Rachel texted, YUP. He literally said, you had two options, stay home or bring the kids. Instead, you tried to manipulate Sam into giving up her holiday. I replied, damn, where was this energy before Christmas? Rachel texted, no clue, but now he's pissed that she dragged the whole family into it. He told her to drop it or else. I replied, or else what? Rachel texted, IDK, but I think my mom is actually scared. I replied, LMAO, good. After that, the whole situation slowly died down. Why mom never apologized, but she stopped trying to guilt me. The rest of the family moved on, and guess what? Next year, they hired a babysitter, so did I actually ruin Christmas? Or did I just teach them a valuable lesson? Because from where I'm standing, this might have been the best Christmas gift I could have given them. As the weeks went by, things finally started to settle. The Christmas drama became a topic of whispers whenever we were all gathered together. But no one dared bring it up openly, especially not with Uncle Tom around. I could tell that my mom, despite her pride, was quietly embarrassed by how everything had played out. But she wasn't about to admit it. Not yet, anyway. Aunt Sarah, on the other hand, had clearly taken a back seat in the family dynamics. She wasn't about to stir the pot any further, especially now that it was clear my uncle was firmly on my side. But the tension still lingered in the air, and I knew it wasn't entirely over. Then, a couple of months later, just as I was beginning to believe that things were going back to normal, I got another call. This time, it was my mom. We need to talk. I immediately felt that cold knot in my stomach. This wasn't going to be some light conversation. That I sighed, bracing myself. About what, Mom? About Christmas. I almost choked on my coffee. Are we seriously going to do this again? Mom, we've been through this. I'm not babysitting the kids again. I'm just not. I get that you're upset. But, Sam, we really need your help this time. Your dad and I are talking about going on another vacation, and I froze. Another vacation? Were they seriously trying to plan this again? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She continued, we were hoping you'd reconsider. You know how much we need time away, and the kids miss you. It doesn't have to be like last time. I had to pause. I could feel my pulse quicken as I thought about how much I'd given up to please them. How, despite all the guilt trips, I had still tried to be the good daughter. Mom, no. I already told you. I have my own life to live. I'm not going to put everything on hold for this again. She was quiet for a moment, and then came the bombshell. Your aunt called me. She said I should apologize, but I'm not going to do that. I could feel the anger rising in my chest. You're not going to apologize? For what? Trying to force me into something that I didn't sign up for? Just because you're my parents doesn't mean you get to dictate everything about my life. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then she said, I didn't mean for things to get this bad, Sam, but you really hurt your dad, and now we're stuck in this mess. I don't know how we're supposed to move forward after this. Wait, what? I could hardly believe what I was hearing. Now I was the one who had hurt them. I couldn't hold it in anymore. No, you hurt me. You ignored me, used me, and made me feel like I had no choice. You don't get to turn this around and make it my fault, Mom. There was no response. The conversation ended with nothing but silence. And that was the moment I realized, once and for all, that I wasn't going to let them pull me back in. This wasn't about me ruining Christmas. It was about me standing up for myself, setting boundaries, and finally learning that my happiness mattered, too. So after everything that happened, being left behind to babysit while my entire family enjoyed a vacation, getting blamed for standing up for myself, and now being treated like I'm the villain for refusing to be their free babysitter. Am I really the one in the wrong here? Was I too harsh for finally putting my foot down? Or was I just standing up for myself after being taken advantage of for so long? Am I the a-hole?
If you don't want to miss what happens next, hit that subscribe button. There's more drama, more twists, and trust me, you won't want to be left out. Stick around for the next update.